I don't actually have any notes for this one. I just wanted to talk to you about my favorite topic, which is Taylor Swift. She had her wedding last weekend, as you may have heard. And what do we know about Taylor Swift? I swear I'm going somewhere with this. What do we know about Taylor Swift's wedding? It was in Madison Square Garden. All the cool celebrities were invited. No one seems to know anything about what happened during the ceremony because I assume they all had to sign NDAs. And I'm also assuming it was filmed and it'll appear on like Disney Plus at some point in the future. I also heard that Adam Sandler was the officiant. But there was a very interesting post I saw on Reddit that just made a simple point, which is this may be one of the biggest weddings in American pop culture. And it's not weird that it's private in the sense that the public doesn't really have any, we don't have pictures of the wedding. We don't know what happened on the inside. But all signs point to the fact that this was not a religious wedding. And isn't that kind of amazing? Because, as far as I know, Taylor Swift is Christian, but it's not like the focus of her identity. I'm pretty sure Travis Kelce is also Christian, but also it's not a thing he necessarily talks about all the time, like one of his teammates necessarily. And yet, everything about this wedding was secular. Where did they hold it? Taylor Swift did not have her wedding at a church. I mean, I know even a megachurch may not have been able to hold all the people she wanted to hold, but it wasn't at a church. There wasn't a priest officiating the wedding. She got her celebrity friend to do it. As far as I can tell, or at least I haven't heard otherwise, they didn't have like um any Bible readings or anything like that. It just wasn't a part of what they talked about. And so I just find that interesting. And I think it's part of a pattern because if you are not overtly religious, and because more and more Americans are becoming non religious, we are seeing a rise in non religious weddings. I want to show you this article from the Christian Post of all places. And they wrote an article a couple of years ago. It's the most recent one I could find. It's from 2022. But look at this headline. Americans increasingly ditching religious marriages for secular interfaith relationships. Again, you can see the the date line there. It's February 18, 2022. But some of the things they found in this American National Family Life Survey. And I'm not harping on this. I just want to point this out. Okay, it found that while 81% of couples who got married before 1972 wed someone of the same faith, only 52% of couples who got married in the last decade reported being in same faith marriages. Over the same period, secular marriages also grew from 3 to 16%. And I think this is a really fascinating topic because for a lot of Americans, especially for like uh devoutly evangelical ones, deeply, I mean, it's impossible to be like kind of Mormon, you know what I mean? But if you're Mormon, of course you're marrying another Mormon. But for a larger segment of America, religion isn't necessarily the thing that defines you. So if you're going on a date, you might not care what someone's religious background is. I mean, what's more important to you? Let's say you're single. Let's say you want to date someone. You're looking on some app, you're online somewhere. What's more important to you? Who that person votes for, or what their religious label is? At least anecdotally, I think more people care about your values and who you vote for. And politics matters way more than your religion. I feel like I have seen more comments online on social media with people saying, I'm single and I'm looking to meet somebody, but no MAGA types, compared to I'm single and I want to date someone, but I'm saying no if you're Presbyterian. They don't care. You might be Christian, but you might be a progressive Christian, and that's fine. Who cares? I've just seen a lot more stuff like that. Uh, the Christian Post article also added just 46% of Americans who are married today report that they were married by a religious leader in a church or other religious setting. Some 16% said they were married by a religious leader in a secular setting, while another 36% said their wedding was entirely secular. And I think I've heard this from a lot of friends of mine as well. Last paragraph here. Only 30% of Americans who were married within the past decade had their ceremony at a church or a house of worship and officiated by a religious leader. I know a lot of people who might have gotten married in a church because they could rent it out, but they had a friend get ordained from like the Universal Life Church online so that their friend could do the ceremony. That happens a lot. And it happens more and more, especially as we have more intermingling of different kinds in communities. If you live in a big city, there's a good chance you might be in an interracial relationship. There's a good chance you're going to meet people who are not in the same community that you grew up with, right? And the same is true for religion. I feel like I've read this before, but you're much more likely to get married to someone of your same social class than you are someone who's the same skin color or religion than you. And I only point this out to say, like, that's a fascinating trend. And I wish there was more polling on it. I'm really curious what the trends are like today. I wonder if more people are having less religious weddings because I don't know, if I want to create a wedding, I want a ceremony that's meaningful for me. And going to a church that I don't belong to, like if I'm not really Catholic, I don't want to go through the Catholic process of getting married. I'm not going to like promise you my firstborn child will be baptized in this church or bullshit like that. And if Catholicism doesn't mean much to you, why would you want to get married in a Catholic church other than to appease your parents or the in-laws or whatever? And if you're not highly religious, you just want to get married in a nice setting at a banquet hall somewhere, maybe, and your friends doing the officiating. And what are the readings going to be at the wedding? Do you want Bible verses that mean nothing to you? Or do you want poetry that speaks to you? Or a passage from a novel you read that really highlights what your relationship is like? I would think as more people get used to that and it's not weird, and if you've ever been to a wedding like that, I think you come away with it thinking, that was really cool. I learned something about that couple that I didn't know. I've been to plenty of religious weddings and I've been to so many Indian weddings that are ritual after ritual after ritual. And I walked away thinking, I know my like cousin is the one getting married, but like the person they're marrying, I still don't know a damn thing about them because the nature of the ceremony was so heavy on religion and it wasn't personal. And I think more people are having these personal weddings. So, moral of the story, Taylor Swift had maybe the biggest wedding that we have ever seen, or at least will see when you subscribe to Disney Plus in the future, I assume. And nothing about it sounds like it was religious. It sounds like it was a celebrity fest. I know it's like, I know people can trash it for all the reasons people trash everything. I don't even care about that. But to have a friend or a celebrity be the officiant, to not have any overtly religious aspects of it, to hold it in a basketball arena as opposed to a big church somewhere, I think that says a lot about our culture. And I think that's fascinating. And I wonder if that'll have an effect of normalizing having a wedding ceremony that just brings together the things you like instead of the things society pressures you to like a wedding in a church. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. What other questions or concerns about that? Otherwise, I just wanted to get that off my chest. When someone votes, who someone votes for tells you a lot about that person's values. Very true. And just to make the point I was trying to make earlier, if someone tells me they're like a Bernie Sanders voter or a Donald Trump voter, I know way more about who they are as a person than if they said, I'm a Christian. Because then you got to ask all the follow-up questions, right? So if I care about my values, I want to know who you vote for. I want to know what issues matter to you more than I care what religious label you use, because you might be Muslim, but you're like a socially progressive Muslim who's doing it because your family's religious. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I want to know what person you are on the inside. Well, maybe both of them recognize how an overtly Christian wedding could hurt their brands. That could be true. And if that is the case, that if they had a super religious wedding, maybe it turns off their mass appeal. If that's true, I wish there was some hint that that's what they were trying, that's the strategy behind it. I just haven't seen anything suggesting they thought about a religious wedding and decided against it. I I, I haven't seen that yet.